Well, the hour being 1 o'clock, we'll call this regular council meeting of Town Council to order this 28th day of September 2020. First we have is an agenda to take care of. Are there any additions or deletions that we'd like to consider there?
Your Worship, I just want to mention that this morning I had a back injection, so I'm going to stand up a couple of times, and I'm supposed to check some pain in certain little, so it's not that I am not interested or I don't want to disrupt, but I'll be a couple of times. And with that, I'll move the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. All in favor? Carried. First item on the agenda were the minutes of the regular council meeting of September 14th for consideration. Would someone like to move?
I'd so move, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Any errors or deletions to be noted? If not, then all in favor of the motion. Carried. Thank you. Next were the minutes of the agenda and priorities meeting of September 21st for consideration. Would someone like to move?
Also.
Thank you, Councillor Reberger. Errors or deletions to be noted? If not, all in favor of the motion. Carried. Thank you. Well, we have a special event to take care of here. Ex-Councillor Taylor has an announcement to make.
Your Worship and Council, it is my pleasure to be here today to say a little bit about our friend Carol Sim. Some of us have known you for years, Carol, while others have only had the pleasure of working with you for a few months. You have 20 plus years of food bank responsibilities guiding and inspiring this team. That's over 7,300 days to solve water coming in the loading dock, walls being pushed in by ambitious drivers, and having way too much breakfast cereal. You have had countless projects from finding a Santa for the train to deciding the contents of food hampers. Over all these many Tuesdays, you have made unforgettable friendships and long-lasting memories. Two of the hardest things to say in life are hello for the first time and goodbye for the last time. As Winnie the Pooh notes, how lucky we are to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. On behalf of our team and our clients, I thank you for your passion and commitment to the food bank. We wish you the very best in this next chapter of your life.
Thanks, Carol. Our illustrious press agents doesn't have to be here.
Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
And staff.
Okay, move on to Administration 5.1, CAO's report.
Thank you, Your Worship. I believe the CAO's report was clearly defined. However, there was a calculation error in the numbers from the cost to the town. The RCMP additional cost was actually $74.80, which made $31.60 for regular scheduled officers and $43.20 of overtime. So that number should be $74.80. Otherwise, everything was pretty clearly designed, so just looking for council approval.
Okay, any questions of the CAO? If not, would someone like to move a report?
So move, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Barclay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you, Jean. Okay, next on the item was the COVID-19 CAO's report.
Thank you, Your Worship. So, we still are having our ECC, which meets every Wednesday morning. Bookings in the LLC, we're starting to work on what that looks like to roll out the LLC. CP Rail here came in last week to talk about safety on the rail and had training sessions with operations and fire and protective services. And the LLC, or the Lundgren Center next door, is open for meetings only. They have not branched out yet into bringing the members back. That's a little more trickier with what they do there. So they are not there yet, but they are starting to do their office meetings there. Administration also talked through the Christmas committee in discussing the staff Christmas party and to look at a more effective staff recognition in a different format. So we're working on that as well. Otherwise, we're looking for council approval of the COVID report.
Okay, any questions?
Not a question, Worship, but I just wanted to mention I went down to the arena yesterday as the, I guess, designated parent of my grandson to watch, and it was great the way they have it set up down there, and everybody was respecting all the procedures, and it was just really well done. And I contrast that, last week I was in Cochrane, and pretty sure if Alberta Health Services walked in there, they'd shut them down. So, and nobody was respecting anything. It was scary. But even I talked to a couple of parents, they were very happy with what we got going on.
Good. Councillor
Thank you,
Harrison?
Your Worship, through to Acting CAO Weimart. Can you just maybe expand a little bit on what kind of research are you doing on the mask wearing policies for our municipality?
Thank you, Your Worship, to Councillor Harrison. So we know that some municipalities have put in place where masks are required out in public, by the public. So we are just being a little proactive in gathering those policies and that information as to which municipalities have it, the guidelines in which they have it, so that I guess it started to be prepared for that next wave should it hit as fast as the first one, that we're a little more prepared of what's already out there being done in regarding to public mask wearing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, would someone like to move we accept this report for information?
I'll move it, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Next on the agenda are the council action control.
Your Worship, can I just ask a question about the upcoming heliport meeting? I guess, Megan, in October. Who is that with?
So, actually, Sue and I have a meeting, sorry, tomorrow, and we're probably get a little bit of direction. The original direction had been sort of the doctors, and we talked a bit internally whether that would be the same sort of group of invites that we sent out for the AHS meeting, which included doctors, hospital staff, AHS, the Rotary as well. So if there is any other comments, I guess, from council before we start sending out those invitations. We do have some limitations based on the facility in terms of how many in-person attendees we can have. But yes.
Well, I guess my 2 cents worth would be hospital manager, physicians that were on that call. I believe Dr. Hertlicka is the chief of staff, or whatever his exact title is. Dr. Miller was there, I believe, partly because of his Rotary connection, And there seems to be quite an interest coming from Rotary as well, so maybe some representatives from there, and I'm not sure who else, like whether you want external, like AHS people on there, but it might be better to hear, right, kind of internally and kind of go from there and let them hear what we've heard and kind of see where things lead from there.
For sure, because I think we'll be in the 20 to 25 is the number we'll be able to have in person, so, yeah, we can work through that invite list for sure.
Okay, does that give you enough information, Megan? Okay. Anything else for questions in that action plan? Well, if not, we'll entertain a motion to accept for this plan for information.
I move we accept the plan for information.
Thank you, Councillor Carrot. Further discussion? No? All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. All right, operations services, we have an RFD regarding Waste Reduction Week.
Right. Good afternoon. So we briefly brought this up last week at Council's A&P meeting, looking for a formal motion from Council to proclaim the week of October 19th to 25th Waste Reduction Week in Innisfail. Waste Reduction Week in Canada is a year-round program focused on the principles of waste reduction, resource efficiency, and the circular economy. The week-long annual campaign is supported nationally by provincial recycling councils, nonprofits, and private businesses. The event will correspond with the town's first Kick It to the Curb event, which is going to occur October 24th and 25th, and our large item pickup on October 26th. The program highlights a different facet of waste reduction each day, so we'll be working through our media channels to put out various information about these different topics, different businesses or facilities within the town where you can do these, recycle these items, and really try to get out a lot of positive information that week. So yeah, just looking for a formal motion so we can proclaim the Waste Reduction Week.
Okay. Is someone prepared to make a motion to that effect?
Your worship, I'll move the council recognizes Waste Reduction Week in Canada as part of the municipality's commitment to conserving resources, protecting the environment, and educating the community.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. RFD regarding the columbarium purchase. Megan, I think that's yours.
Yep. Okay, so just looking to inform council of the purchase of a new columbaria for the cemetery. Looking for a motion that council accepts the proposal to procure a new 64 niche columbaria for the cemetery. The existing columbaria area of the cemetery has foundations for 5 structures, and this would be the 4th, and would be installed in the spring of 2021. The new installation will be very similar to the existing units and costs $28,144.48, including installation costs from Sunset Memorial and Stone, which is the same organization we've had the previous 3 columbaria for. The current columbaria is reaching capacity, so we're hoping to get this one ordered and installed as soon as we can.
Okay, is someone prepared to make a motion to that? Support that recommendation?
I would so move we follow the recommended action and buy this.
Thank you, Councillor Rehberger. Any further discussion? No? All in favor of the motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Your Worship, just through to Megan for a second. I don't know whether this is even possible, but could you look into whether or not you can have more than 2 names on a plaque? Because sometimes, like, you'll see, 2 people, there may be a child or something, right? Because I think you can put, I don't know. Oh, you can put more than 2 in, I believe. So So it may not be anything that's available, but I kind of see some, people with a picture or something kind of sitting there because the name can't go on it, so.
Okay, I guess that I didn't ask the question. Those in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Next is the RFT regarding the parks donations and memorial policy.
Okay, so last week we presented the draft park donation and memorial program policy for adoption or for review. This week we're looking for the formal adoption of the policy. The policy provides direction for staff and the community regarding options for the donations of items in public spaces by individuals, typically benches, trees, that sort of thing, as well as options for the acceptance of park improvements from individuals or service clubs, so those may be larger scale, larger cost installations. In follow-up from last week's meeting, we did just beef up a couple of sections regarding those park improvement projects in terms of various lengths of the lifespan of those items based on what they are for the larger installations. So when there is a park improvement project undertaken or the installation has numerous components, an agreement outlining the lifespan and maintenance requirements of each component will be required. The policy also indicates that where a contributor wishes to provide a large feature or create a specific space, the town will work with that contributor to explore various designs. So yeah, at this time, we're looking for a motion to adopt that policy.
I'd so move, your worship, that council adopts the park donation and memorial program policy 2020-003 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. Discussion. Councillor Bieber.
Through to Megan, I think you have a typo. On page 2 of the policy, the last item under point 3, it says a capital improvement project identified by the city, so I'm assuming we plagiarized this somewhere and forgot to change that one. Is there more?
Just have to ask a Councillor Rehberger question. So in 4.19, it says subject to 2.4 above. Do you mean 4.4 or do you mean?
Yeah, I think it should be 4.8.
Yeah, there was a couple of them, Megan. And in 4.10, it says notwithstanding 1.8 above, and I think it should be 4.8. And then in 419 and 420, it's both referring to 2.4.
Yeah, 419 and 420 should refer to.
I'm assuming that Councillor Rehberger would have brought that up, but.
Well, I can't get them all.
Well, you get most of them.
And then 4.10 should reference 4.9.
Yeah. No, it's okay. No worries.
And then I have a further question. So with the 10-year term, if, say the Kinsman Club put in a playground and they put a sign up advertising the Kinsman, and after 7 years, the playground was fine, but the sign was faded to the point that would the town replace that sign?
So that's the sections that we would have an individual agreement. And if, say, the lifespan of the playground is estimated at 15 years, but even like we've seen at Centennial, the lifespan of signage is far less than that.
Yeah.
That we would identify those individually. And we would always have a clause that if something is appearing in a state of disrepair, that we would either offer that option for them to replace it, or that it could be removed if they don't want to replace it.
Okay, because I just know that lots of the signs don't last as long as the projects, so.
Well, and that's part of the wayfinding that we're looking at, putting up town signs for the playgrounds as well, that it would be, it wouldn't be the Kinsman putting up one sign here and a different sign. We would have sort of the standard playground sign you know, and it would be some sort of a, you know, in support of or with the generous contribution of the kinsmen as opposed to them providing the entire identification sign.
So your worship, through to Megan, with respect to that, like projects that have already been done, do you have some ideas to how you will move forward with some of those signage? Like I guess I'll bring up the Centennial, right? Because, I mean, that was a project in conjunction with the province of Alberta, so there was grants. Signage had to say certain things, and like I don't think it should just be removed. I mean, I can tell you that the sign at the top of the hill going into the trail, like that was like $8,000, $75,000 or $7,500, $8,000 to just put up that one sign, let alone the big ones. And I, like I said before, I worry that, you know, we discourage service clubs from doing this kind of work.
And I know we did have PM Signs last year give us a quote for the Centennial sign by the parking lot that's peeling and fading. So, you know, we have looked at that, but again, we need to be working with those clubs to get the information, especially where it's no longer legible as to who the sponsors were and that kind of information. So it is on our radar, but it is going to be a cost because I think that was quite expensive to get that sign refaced.
They pretty much had to redo the inside of the sign because it wasn't able to be refaced.
Yeah, well,
I think that's part of the agreement that we need to get put into place.
yeah.
The understanding.
Yeah, I think going forward, right, I'm just looking at projects like Kinsman Playgrounds all over town, and, you know, I guess my other question also would be with respect to work, like labor that citizens put into projects. I think of the Greg Ritson Park, that was all done by volunteer labor, and, you know, I see a clause in here about labor and whether it would be allowed or not, so.
And that's come from our Parks Department that, you know, even with our playground inspection policies and things like that, that the ability to have someone else assemble it and then, so there is some limitations in terms of what kind of work we can have those volunteers doing, especially with the assembly of the equipment. The tree planting and the, you know, laying sod, that sort of thing is not a huge issue.
So is that something that, like, clubs would be able to come to operations and say, okay, we're going to do this project, and we have people within that particular club that are, you know how to do things? I mean, we think of the Lions Club, who have some very talented people, and I mean, they all do, right? So it's not that they don't know how to put these things together and
I think
do
it would
this
be,
work.
and it does
So kind of a
identify
one-off.
sort of at the discretion
Kind
of
of a
the,
one-off, yeah.
you know, if we're able to do that and that it's still under the supervision of the town, it's not just sort of the club going out and putting it together.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then-
without you knowing and stuff, yeah.
yeah.
There'd be a difference between me putting playground equipment together and someone else.
Someone else. But I think definitely, and we've had some meetings with the Kinsmen this spring, because they were looking at getting some signs made and going back and figuring out which parks were, they had even installed, you know, trying to be a little bit more formal. Again, you don't want to discourage them from doing it, but making sure that we're, you know, keeping track and doing it properly.
Okay, any other questions on that? Not, then I'll ask the question. Those all in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, next, the RFT regarding public space maintenance policy.
All right, one more. There should be 2 new memorial benches being installed this week too, so that's good. So this is the public space maintenance policy. Again, we've had discussions with council on 2 occasions previously going through the draft of this policy. Developed primarily to assist council and administration in establishing and monitoring service levels related to grass and open space maintenance, flower and horticulture plantings, trees, and outdoor recreational amenity spaces. During those discussions, administration posed a series of questions respecting service levels, particularly with respect to reduced service levels provided in 2020 due to reduced summer staffing numbers. Following the review and discussion, the policy has been finalized to reflect generally the service levels provided in 2020 respecting sort of a similar level to this year of plantings and horticulture, that edging around playgrounds and sports fields will be completed as a level 2 maintenance priority, and that there will be some reduced edging around passive green spaces, as those will be designated as a level 3. Again, the policy establishes a 4-tiered maintenance system, level 1s being our highest, most visible areas of town that are kept in the highest level, down through level 2 being playgrounds, the cemetery, some of those other corridors. Level 3 being more passive green spaces, the dog park. Those are areas that are still mowed bi-weekly and edged sort of on a monthly to an as-needed basis. And then level 4 being our lowest level that are left as natural areas, as well as sort of the ditch mowing and the mowing that gets done with the larger tractor unit. The policy also identifies playground and outdoor recreation facility inspections, repairs, graffiti removal, as well as property owner responsibilities regarding the maintenance of boulevards and fence lines. Many of these policy items will be supported by further operational procedures. And again, we're really hoping that this policy will help us assist in resource planning and scheduling, both for the operations department as well as for reception, taking calls and complaints regarding service levels. So, yeah, sort of consistent with the last two go-rounds of this policy.
Okay, is someone prepared to make a motion? We go with that staff recommendation.
I'll move, Your Worship, that we adopt the public space maintenance policy 2020-005 as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Barkley. Discussion.
Your Worship,
Bates, yeah.
so I guess the one point I would wonder about is what's our plan for communication to, like, we've sat and heard the details of doing certain trimming and stuff ourselves and around our properties, that sort of thing. How would we get that out on an ongoing and continuous basis? 'Cause
our general communications as well, most of it is consistent with what is currently in place, the boulevards in front of your property, anywhere where you're abutting a roadway, anywhere around a playground is still gonna be addressed. But likely in the spring, we should look at a bit more of a formal outline so people can understand that service level for sure.
well, I'm thinking where we're getting a little more definite that, you know, you might be running your weed whacker on the outside of your fence and that sort of thing, that we maybe remind on occasion of when we kick yard waste into gear and when we take it back out in the fall, that we, you know, use those opportunities to remind, because even when you get new people moving to town, they wouldn't maybe know, and so communicate. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, Your Worship, through to Megan. What about utility corridors? How does this policy affect them? We're responsible, or the homeowner that abuts to a utility corridor, are they responsible for their?
No, the town would maintain any public utility lots or utility spaces. We would be doing the mowing, so the adjacent boulevard is only where it's adjacent to a roadway. So if you pack, like the passive green spaces, we would do all the mowing in those. We wouldn't have property owners doing green spaces or cut throughs.
No, not so much green spaces, but a utility corridor. I'll use 56th Street as an example. At 52nd Avenue close, there's a utility corridor that runs down between the road and a fence line. It's about, I don't know, 3-4 meters.
Yep, the town maintains that, and that would be treated as a level 4 passive green space in the policy.
They haven't maintained it since I've lived in that property, so.
I was gonna say, they mow behind there, do they not? Yeah.
Nobody right beside you? This is your section behind Councillor Garrett as well. Is that the one you were
Yeah, it's towards the stop sign, yeah.
Okay, so between your property boundary and a roadway?
Yeah.
That's a homeowner's responsibility.
Okay, yeah, you've clarified it
Between
then.
if it's behind your house and it's
No.
a utility, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
so,
I guess further to that then, what about tree plantings or vegetation? Can one actually plant a flower or a shrub on that corridor?
technically, you're not supposed to be, placing plantings outside your property boundary, cause then that becomes basically a town tree that now we're responsible to maintain,
Okay,
so.
you've answered my question then. Yeah. Thank you. It's, there's not a problem, but
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to Parkland Regional Library Budget, Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. So each year, the Parkland Regional Library supplies us with their requisition for the next year. That's in agreement with the Libraries Act and their regional libraries budget policy. This year, they have submitted a requisition with no change. They're leaving it at 8.55 cents per capita. So the requisition for 2021 will remain at $67,091.85. The Parkland Regional Library Board asks that council consider the proposed budget before November 4th so that any problems can be addressed at their board meeting on November 12th, 2020. So it's recommended action that council approves the Parkland Regional Library 2021 budget.
Is someone prepared to make that motion?
I'd so move, Your Worship, that we approve the Parkland Regional Library 2021 budget.
Thank you, Councillor Harrison. And that, basically, when we do that, we approve of the rate too that they're suggesting as well, right?
Point of clarification, Your Worship, through to Acting CAO Weimar. How does our budget, by our, I mean the town of Innisfail's library budget, fit into all of this? Like, we have a Parkland budget that we approve with a per capita, and now when does the LLC come forth to us for at budget time? How do those two fit?
So Your Worship, through to Councillor Harrison. So they come in and present at budget time.
Yeah.
They sit with their group and their board and they determine what money they need to have to go for the next year. And it's also a requisition. So it's a requisition we put on our books, not only to Parkland, but to our own town library as well. So they come in, they present their budget to us, and council at that time can decrease, increase, remain the same of whatever they're asking for at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I have one, Your Worship, through to Acting CAO Weimar. Have you ever seen them not ask for an increase? I don't think I remember that, but.
2017 was the last one where they did not request an increase, so this is the first time that.
And I would assume, like our library, they probably are regulated where they can't take advantage of all the federal funding for employees and everything during COVID, and do we know that, or?
They're a board, so they would have a harder time applying for that than an employer. So no, the avenues for them are not as great as an employer that can apply for those funds.
So PRL would not probably have the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'll ask the question. All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. All right, moving on to the municipal stimulus program.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in July 2020, the government, of course, announced a $500 million municipal stimulus program. Municipalities were requested to send in shovel-ready projects to help with Alberta's recovery plan. The allocation to the town of Innisfail was $932,766. The projects must begin construction in 2020 or 2021 and must not result in a municipal tax increase. The submission deadline is October 1st. So on September 8th, to an AMP meeting, administration presented to council 4 projects that fit the criteria of the funding. First was the pedestrian crossing, railroad crossing and trail improvement. Second was Highway 54 and 42nd Street multi-purpose trail. Third was 53rd Avenue infrastructure improvements, and fourth was a mill and overlay program. Through council debate and consideration, administration was given the indication that 53rd Avenue improvement and mill and overlay program were the projects to submit. So this is informal that we request a resolution by council that council approves of the infrastructure improvement of 53rd Ave and 38th Street overlay funded by MSP funds.
Okay, is someone prepared to make that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that council approves the infrastructure improvement of 53rd Avenue and 38th Street.
Thank you, Councillor Carrot. Discussion. This is a great opportunity for sure. Councillor Bates.
I just want to, I think we're all in 100% agreement, but I just want to remind us all that, because it was a little bit vague, I think, in the newspaper, that we fully intend to go ahead with the pedestrian crossing and at the rail, and that this afforded us the opportunity to potentially get a significant grant there that if we did it under this, then we wouldn't have that opportunity.
Yep.
And so I just want to remind everyone of that. And again, I don't expect there's any opposition to that on council.
And I think as clarification to that, we'd all agreed the current arrangement we have for the pedestrian crossing is taken care of through other channels of budgeting, so that's going to happen. Any other discussion? No? All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. All right, moving along to correspondence. Do we need a proclamation for cerebral palsy?
I would so move that we declare October 6th World Cerebral Palsy Day.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Rehberger. Anyways, thank you, Councillor Rehberger. All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Any other discussion regarding those correspondence? Not? Would someone like to move we accept them for information?
I'd so move, Your Worship, that we
I
accept them.
promise to get your name right. Thank you, Councillor Harrison. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Well, let's do a quick council report. And Councillor Hill had informed me he was unable to make the meeting today, but Councillor Bates, you want to start?
Okay, so actually September 17th, I did attend the first RDR MUG, Red Deer River Municipal User Group meeting since, oh gosh, March. And we had it in person down in Drumheller. There was quite a few people zoomed in. It's interesting to visit another community and see how they're running their facilities too, and all kinds of protocols certainly in place. This was kind of a defining meeting for the group because in the spring they were trying to convene a special committee to more or less define their purpose going forward. And so I will forward some significant minutes to everyone here and to administration. They probably got their own copy anyway. But certainly the group feels that it's valuable. It's a unique collection of 30-some odd municipalities that actually have kind of a voice to the government and to others. They will go forward. Obviously, their overlying purpose always is to advocate on behalf of the quality and just the protection of the Red Deer River. But they're developing a handbook of what they will be doing going forth. The two probably most important things would be to pursue a Crown allocation guaranteeing our right to withdraw and protect a certain amount of water for the communities, because that isn't actually in place, and to bring the possibility of future storage to the attention of the government. That's not been done either. Again, it's just for the longevity of, because the river basins in southern Alberta in particular are licensed out except for the Red Deer River. And so, yeah, so that's, I'll forward you all they do an extremely good job of summarizing what was discussed, so I'll do that. I also attended a Zoom FCSS meeting, and we said goodbye to two members, Ella and Patrick. So there's 2 openings, I believe, that are for that group. One of the things Karen did was she summarized just everything that's gone on this summer and some of the future needs that she sees, just and not all directly to our FCSS, it's with her partner groups too. And I think it would probably be a good idea if we asked the administration to have her come in and give a little mini update to all of council. I just think that would be beneficial. I don't know if you need a motion to that effect. I'd be willing to make it. And I actually had one other little note that I threw down here, and it goes back to the river group. There is the other group, the Watershed Alliance, which predominantly is made up by funding by government and industry. It's not the communities that and they've got a new, I'm not sure what the title is, executive officer, and her name is Josie Methot, and she was typical of a lot of organizations. She was all the energy behind it before, so I do believe that group will get a little more. We've kind of opted, we were in it occasionally and out of it. I think that group will get a little more functional and recognizable by our communities. So it'll be a group to watch. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Carrick.
I had a library board meeting last week. They're going to be working on getting the budget together to present. And they're working with town administration to continue mitigation to move forward with more opening procedures. And I attended the AUMA on Thursday. And, well, next week is MPC. Thank you.
Councillor Barkley.
Did you want some music, Councillor Bates? Get moving. So attended AUMA on Thursday and Friday, virtually of course. Then on Wednesday, the Equus flag raising ceremony is on. And Thursday have a Parkland Foundation meeting. And also, I guess I'd like to make a motion that we'd direct administration to recognize Small Business Week, which is October 29th, or October 19th to the 23rd, I should say, the same week as Waste Reduction Week. And also that we would put an ad in the paper, a display ad, recognizing small businesses in our community. Been through a lot the last few months, and I think recognizing that resilience and innovation that we've seen in them is very important. And that's all, so
Okay, you've made a motion,
I have, yes.
and does everybody understand the motion, the intent? Okay. Of course, this being regular council, you're able to do that. All in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Councillor Reber.
Yeah, you had a community services meeting, which the minutes are in the correspondence, so you've all read it, you already know what it's all about, I don't have to go on with that. Did the skateboard donor recognition, and then the 2 days of the conference, which was a little different, I must say, but I did manage to sit on one of the sessions, but I found it a little hard to get motivated to drop everything and take in those sessions, so I did make it to one. And then we have the flag raising on Wednesday I plan on attending.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also attended the AUMA virtual convention. Also the skateboard park sponsor recognition. And this week I've got a meeting, not on behalf of the town, but some of the work I was doing before with the Legion, also with the Chamber on the Hometown Christmas event that's coming up. I've also I hope to be handing that off to the new manager over at Branch 104 there on the 1st. And I'll be also attending the Equus flag raising on Wednesday. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I too attended 2 half-day sessions of the conference, and it was informative, I guess, to some degree, but it certainly wouldn't be something you'd want to continue on a long-term basis. But it's hard to get, like you say, get motivated and into the discussions, to discussion of items on the agenda. But anyways, yeah, I'm looking forward to the flag raising too on Wednesday. I guess I'm not sure when it's going to be quite appropriate to bring it up, but I think we might have to think a little harder about our Monday afternoon councils, because Councillor Hill has not been able to attend the last 2 now because of business involvements and priorities. So I'm not sure if it's something we should discuss, at what point we should discuss it, but I know we've got a temporary period till I think the end of November, but it's a shame, like if it's going to be an issue for Councillor Hill, I'm not sure, Glenn, you had some questions about it too. Has it been?
Well, so far I adapted, and that's why we suggested having the trial up until the end of November to see, what it was like. Personally, so far it's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Your Worship, I would maybe, can't speak for him, he's not here, check with Councillor Hill, but last week he phoned me afterwards, and it wasn't business that was keeping him away from council last week, so.
This week it was. So, yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
a
He
couple
sent
of
me
times he has missed, it's been more personal reasons, so.
Okay. Yeah, it was, no, he sent me an email this morning, but, it's tough, but, anyways, it's something we might think about or discussion, keep in, back of our minds here if we want council to function to its fullest ability, so. I think as far as the staff goes, it's been working quite well, you know. So that, you know, it's a, it'd be a shame not to, you know, because it does work well, I think, for the majority of us, but we can't disregard our fellow councilors either. Stephen, did you have anything you want to? Nothing at all? No? Stuart, have you got anything? No? Megan? Clear? Vanessa? Heather? Nothing? Okay. All right, then I guess it's just the upcoming events, but other than that, I guess we'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would suggest that we give Todd more time off. Because seems
Maybe we can send him.
to go quite a bit
send
quicker.
him- send him- No, don't come back for another couple weeks.
But other than that, I'll move for adjournment.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you.